Good evening and welcome to the Cube Ambassador. And you're probably wondering why I'm doing this in the evening on a Tuesday evening. This is getting crazier all the time. And I'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, I went skiing on Saturday, so I couldn't do this. And then Monday was Family Day here in Ontario, Canada, which means it's like a holiday they created just to stay with your family. And so I didn't want to do the show then. And then two things happened over the weekend, which were, well, there was no way I could skip this week. I had to actually produce. What are those two things? Well, the Veeam Vanguards and the Veeam Legends sent out their renewals and their new invitations to people. Okay. So, and you got to watch it, especially at my age, right? Too much excitement. Because, it might get. So I wake up the morning, I think it was Sunday. I have this rule: don't open your emails on weekend, like work, stay away. But then I always break it. I mean, not always, but often. It's kind of like used to be like with the beer fridge with me. I'd say no, on certain days. I even taped the handle once. I'm not joking. The problem is I had scissors in the kitchen, so all it took was same thing here. It's like my iPhone's staring at me and it's looking at me going, Jeff, what's happening on social media? What's happening in the world? I don't want to know. But and then you give in the end, right? And you look, and then I see an email from Rick Vanover saying congratulations, right? So it must be good news, right? It wouldn't be congratulations, you're fired. Well, I don't work for Veeam, so he couldn't fire me. But what I'm saying is, when you see congratulations, you know it's something good, unless it's one of these spamming things that are all over the place. Where congratulations, your bank's going to give you $1 billion more credit, so you can get more debt. All right. No, I mean you do get those congratulations, but this was not this type of congratulations. This was Veeam Vanguard renewal. Okay. All right. So that was wonderful. And I took the deep breath, relax, heartbeat, check, all that. And it was good. And then I think Monday was uneventful, right? It was family day, right? So then I definitely didn't check. But Tuesday morning, I get an email from Madalena from Veeam also saying congratulations, right? So immediately I knew something else was good. So I got renewed to the Veeam Vanguards. You can tell the excitement's gone to my head. The Veeam Vanguards and the Veeam Legends. So I thought I'd show the programs again. I've done this in the past, but it's good to remind people, because people say, well, what are these things anyways? They think you're part of a cult or something. You are the Vanguard. Dun, 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 dun. No, not at all. First of all, you get swag. Okay, so that can't be a cult. Cults don't give you swag, do they? I don't think so. But it's basically there are two community groups that they have at Veeam, and I'll describe them right now as I show you the websites. So let's start with the Veeam Legends, simply because today, was it today? Yeah, today's Tuesday. I got the Veeam Legend email. So the Veeam Legends was created, I think it was about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. Wow, time flies, doesn't it? Yes, especially after 45 or after 40 or after 30, of course, like me. But it's an internal program. What I mean by that, that means that if you do a lot of activity, post a lot on the R&D forums or in the community hub, you become a community hub group leader, you help people out, you can get into this program, okay, the Veeam Legends. And that program renews or has new invitations every 6 months. Now, some people, they get other things happen in their lives, they get new jobs, or they just don't have time, and they kind of fall out of the program. But, it's not that you have to do a lot of work, but you have to be somewhat involved. So, if you start working with totally different new technology and not working with Veeam at all, I guess it's probably good to slowly, leave. But if you do have some time and do some posting, you can be in there. Okay. The second group are the Vanguards. And again, these are internal. So these are like the Veeam Community Hub, which you see here, and the R&D forums. Okay. Now, we've discussed in the past the difference between the Veeam Community Hub and the R&D forums. It's, there is a set definition, but I think, for instance, if you're, well, I don't want to say anything because I think it kind of changes, but it's pretty, you can talk to some people like Mildor, okay, who used to be a legend and was hired by Veeam. He was so good at the Veeam forums, I've said this before, that they hired him, right? So if you do really, really well here, you'll not only be a legend or Vanguard, you'll become a Veeam employee, right? unless you got too big a mouth like me. They go, no, not Jeff, anyone but Jeff. That's the internal Veeam Legend program. Now, there's the Veeam Vanguard program, and this is external. And what I mean by that? Well, if you have a big blog post, you blog a lot, you go and do a lot of talks, not necessarily about Veeam, but Veeam related or backup related, and you use Veeam a lot, and you're on websites or webinars and things like that, this is the program for you here. Now, both of these, including a Veeam MVP program, which is for Veeam employees. So Veeam employees are not allowed to be part of the Vanguard and the Legends, because then they take all our swag, right? So we made a big stink about that. So no, don't let them in. Nah, I'm making that up. But no, so they have their own little program, the Veeam 100. All three of these groups are called, oh no, I'm sorry, the MVPs. All three of these groups are called the Veeam 100. And believe it or not, last year they brought us all to Prague, Czech Republic for like 3 or 4 days to see all sorts of webinars and talk to people and socialize. It was wonderful. So there are real benefits to this, and there's others too. There's like training and things like that, but those are the programs. So I'm very pleased about that. It's it is work. There's no doubt about it, but it's fun work, and you come to like it a lot. And yeah, you meet a lot of interesting people and people from all over the world. So not just in your backyard. And what I'm going to talk about today, which is not technical, but is related to this, and I thought it was a good thing to bring up after this great news. So you might ask yourself your question, or not ask you might, it's obvious to, how did your life change after COVID? Not after having it, of course, although that might have happened too, but I mean, after the whole 2 years that we were in this strange reality. And for a lot of IT people, they went into COVID working in one kind of situation, they came out working in another. So in my particular case, I used to go to the office. I used to go 2 times, 3 times a week, depending on, and I liked working at home. But even before COVID, because working at home, you can like sleep and not pay attention to anything. And if your boss puts monitoring software on, there's all sorts of ways you can defeat it. Not joking, of course. I would never do that. But I used to also get tired of working at home, and those 1 or 2 days at the office, even though people are bugging you, you get some work done, whatever. Okay, well, after COVID, guess what? For me and for many other people, there is no more office, because so many remote opportunities opened up that it was just impossible to ignore them. But there's a downside, and I'm finding that myself, even though I enjoy working and everything else. When you're working from home every single day, and I work here, as you can see, I work here, I blog here, I sleep here. I don't eat here. I don't watch TV. I mean, I've got other rooms. But it kind of becomes like that film Groundhog Day. So Groundhog Day, Bill Murray film. It's Groundhog Day somewhere in Pennsylvania, and something happens, and he wakes up every morning. It's the same morning, Groundhog Day, and it drives him nuts. That kind of happens because you don't get out as much, and you have to be very careful to define a routine. So a sports routine, a get out and take a walk routine, go to the pool routine if there's a pool near you or anything, and you have to be disciplined. It's not so easy. There's a real tendency, even if you're not a workaholic, which I am certainly not, to slip and just start nonstop. And then that combined with the solitary confinement situation. I mean, you've got your family and all that, but all your coworkers and most people you're dealing with every day are through the screen. I've noticed it starts to drive me a little bit crazy. Now, I was kind of crazy to begin with, so it's kind of up the ante, but it does have an effect. And how do I sign that? And I, interesting to find out what other people think. For me, I find that sometimes I've got a shorter fuse. I get angrier about things. I get more upset about things. The lack of the human real-time coordination back and forth definitely has an effect. When you're looking at someone on the screen, you're missing out a lot. But if you're looking at only emails and, God forbid, instant messaging, the amount of nuances and things in human language is why I'm not a big proponent of whatever it's called, chat, GPT, whatever, because there's so much that goes into human communication that we don't really see ourselves. We do not acknowledge it. So we are taking this information like we're big radar, like a big radar. When you're talking and you're in a room with somebody, there's all sorts of things happening. Even I've read, and this is not Jeff Burke making it up, it's not the Irish Blarney Stone stuff, that even facial muscles changing slightly during a conversation, your brain will pick it up and will register that based on previous registrations of facial muscles that it can see in real life and determine your mood better. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff like that. Like, I just remember when I used to go out and have 1 or 2 beers after work. And then I'd come home and I'd tell my wife, I had 1. And it was magic. I mean, it would be, no, you had 3. How, and I check for cameras and everything. And no, it's just because you see and you can interpret. So we lose all that when we're working remotely. So what happens? Well, the question, if you don't use it, you lose it. Do you start to lose your skills, communication skills? And I'm not talking about just talking in front of a camera nonstop like me. I've always done that. I talk to the mirror. I talk when I'm in the shower. Okay, I just nonstop. But I'm talking about real back and forth communication. So it's like a game of tennis, right? And you're playing. You get. If you don't do that in real life, your skills start to possibly go down. So what's the cure to that? Well, obviously you have to go out and do things with people. And I think the underlying rule should be make a routine. Write it down on a piece of paper. I got a piece of paper there, a little schedule. You must do this. So morning, no computer, Jeff, before work. You're out running. You're trying to get back into the best shape you were in before. All that kind of thing. Lunchtime break, go for a walk. Go to the bookstore, talk to the book person. I don't know. Anything, but make it a routine, not a one-off. Once a week's not good enough. That at least will compensate. And the beautiful thing about our human condition is you don't need a lot. It's like with sports. You don't need to go overboard. No, you just need a bit to keep in the in the zone, in shape, so to speak. But you don't want to slip into a situation where you're just a hermit, an IT hermit. You're in your room, my screen, and because you'll come out, like this. You'll see humans and go, oh. And I had that happen to me when I went to KubeCon in 2021. It was still pandemic, but they opened it up for KubeCon, and I walked into the crowd. Now we had masks on and stuff, but I was just, it was like I was ready to do my Tai Chi defense. Someone walked near me, and it wasn't because of COVID. It was just because the fact that there were multiple human beings walking around me and talking. I just had gotten unused to it. So if you've ever gone camping for a long time and not been around people, it's probably similar. You come back to the city, but we are now in that situation when it comes to work for quite a long period. So I'm interested in hearing, your situations, and I also believe that when you talk about it, like I'm doing so now, it actually helps you, even if you're the one talking, because people mirror sometimes, a mirror technique, I think, in psychology, where you'll say something to someone, and they might not even be listening. Half the time people aren't listening to me, but you are listening to yourself, and your brain interprets it subconsciously, and you can come to some kind of conclusions or solutions, or just letting it out feels good sometimes. And oh, great, I feel good. I do that to my boss all the time. I got a problem. Oh no. And then 20 hours of talking, and it's like, oh, then he has to go and talk to someone after talking to me. But that's, I guess we come down to back to mental health and how we deal with these new realities. Again, good news is human beings are extremely flexible. Maybe not so much in yoga anymore for me, but I'll get there. But the plasticity, as they call it, especially mental plasticity, the brain, you can change and evolve as much as possible to deal with new situations successfully, right? So, okay, well, that's enough deep stuff this week. I mean, normally it's all jokes, and someone comes to the show and like, Jeff, you're always joking, and now you're totally depressed me about working from home. I mean, it's not bad. You can go sleep when you just turn off your computer and just go to sleep. I do that all the time. But nevertheless, I know that a lot of people are dealing with this, and it's interesting. Some people haven't, though. Some people have gone back to the office, and they hate it, and then they wish they could get to where I am. So the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Right. Okay, Veeam Vanguard, Veeam Legend. I'm very pleased I was renewed. They are great programs. Try for them. It's really worth it. Okay, and we'll see you next week on the Cube Ambassador. I almost said Vanguard again. Ambassador. Cube Legend. That's the next marketing change will be Cube Legend. Bye-bye.